out. Everybody.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Lights Out. I'm your host, Josh, and I'm joined by my boy, Ian. He's back.
Hello. I want to say welcome back to you. It feels strange saying welcome back to you because we recorded yesterday as well, but...
I know, but you've said it a lot.
I've said it, but welcome back.
Thank you. Daniel's here as well.
Hey,
what's up, man?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Good. Yeah, I'm back in action after 4 weeks off. You know, the last couple of weeks have been pre-recorded episodes that you've been watching. So this is my first episode back from paternity leave, and I am feeling absolutely amazing on so many levels. Because, you know, when you go through and experience childbirth, I mean, I didn't birth a child, but my wife did. And she bodied that shit.
I bet she did. I bet she did.
I mean,
this is round 2.
Yes, round 2. Little boy. His name's Truman. He's a coolest little guy I've ever met. So cool. But just that experience was nothing compares.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just it is so insane. You're like, how on earth? You're like, how was he in there?
And we've been doing this for thousands,
it's
hundreds of thousands of years.
It's crazy. And it was all that much more special because I caught him coming out. Like,
whoa.
Yeah, like I pulled him out.
You fielded it.
Yeah, I fielded my boy. And that was by far the best experience of my life. Like, hands down, nothing compares. And it's just, nothing gives you perspective. Like,
well, and you've got the new parent glow too.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're chilling.
It's been nice. It's been nice to have some time off and enjoy that with the family, and also just detox my brain from the show. The show can be very dark, very heavy, and I was definitely burning out there a couple weeks ago. I was definitely feeling like, oh man, I don't know how much I can do this going forward. It's just, it's heavy, it's dark, and so it was nice to get some time off and just completely detach from, you know, all things paranormal and true crime for a while, and enjoy some fantasy.
Right.
Watch the Dune movies.
I thought you said the dude movies.
The Dune movies,
I guess the Dune movies are dude movies.
Dune movies were great. Rewatched Star Wars. That was very nostalgic.
The whole series?
Yeah, I'm still in the new sequels, but
okay.
You know, the prequels and of course the original trilogy. That was amazing to just like, there's nothing that allows me to escape than stories like that.
Absolutely. You know, I recently rewatched Tobey Spider-Man 2, and I felt like a reconnection with my childhood as well. I was like, oh,
yeah, isn't that amazing to like reconnect with that childhood, you know, that childlike self, and just feel free. I don't know how
that is how you feel.
You just feel like free, and you feel like, okay, everything's fine.
Yep, I'm back to being 7 years old.
So no, it was great to take some time off, but I'm very happy to be back. And you know, if you're watching the show, you obviously have noticed that this is not where we were last.
Yeah.
We are in a temporary space right now. You might recognize this set if you watch any of our other shows, Mile Higher or The Sesh. That's also filmed in this room. Reason for being in this room is because we are in the process of building a brand new studio, and construction is ongoing right now, and hopefully will be done in the next month or so, and it will be a super rad space. I'm excited. We're gonna kind of give it a new fresh vibe, and it's gonna be bigger and better than before. Literally
much larger.
Much larger. But yeah, you know, I've had a lot of time to think about the show and, you know, the future of the show. And, you know, Ian has been nothing but a supportive pal over here. You know, if you watch Mile Higher, you know, Ian he's a producer over there, but he's also co-hosted a lot of episodes with me over there on that show while my wife has been gone, and he's been absolutely killing it.
Thank you.
And so I was like, hey, you want to come over here and help me out on Lights Out? And, you know, maybe we can do this thing together. And so here he is.
Here I am. And yeah, I mean, I'd be extremely stoked to do that. But, you know, ultimately, it's up to the audience. And
that's right. So you got to tell me, should Ian stick around permanently? And I genuinely want to know, because I care a lot about how the show is delivered. I care about the cadence. I care about how it sounds, how it looks. And, Danny and I have been doing this for a long time. And so we want to make sure, whoever, sits in that seat really fits the full circle here and really makes it feel like a cohesive. And so far, from our past 2 episodes that we did together, I had a lot of fun. And obviously we've recorded quite a bit with each other.
Yes, we have. We're veterans at this point.
Yeah, we really are. And just, this is a, different show from Mile Higher in many ways. It's a bit darker, a bit more serious at times, but with our last episode, that was a ton of fun. I like to have fun on here too. I like to mix it up and get into some stuff that isn't so, dark and serious and sad really at the end of the day. But yeah, let me know what you think of Ian. Should Ian stick around permanently?
And you won't hurt my feelings, so don't worry.
Yeah. Thank you, Ian.
Yeah.
And if you don't like Ian,
honestly, bro,
just be honest. But Ian's joining us today, and we're going to be talking about an absolutely insane individual named Matthew Hoffman, dubbed the Leaf Killer. This is a lesser known case that absolutely blew me away. It took place in 2010, and this guy is one of the most disturbing individuals I think I've covered in a long, long time.
Easily one of the most disturbing that I've ever seen in the course of working for either show. And I don't know. The fact that it is so, lesser known is surprising to me, simply because the elements that we'll get to, specifically surrounding trees and leaves, are just so strange. I'm surprised I haven't seen wider conversation or other instances really of these things playing a part in the same way they do here.
Yeah, dendrophilia is what it's called. This like connection and obsession with trees. And as we'll see in this case, trees are very much involved as well as leaves, which is very bizarre. But this is something that he was into. It reminds me a lot of that show, My Strange Addiction, right? And like this guy could for sure be on there because this guy brought leaves into his house everywhere,
right?
And just piles and piles of leaves. And it seemed like from a very young age, he was just obsessed with them, climbing them, trying to live in them, like in every way, shape, and form. He was just absolutely obsessed. But he's one of those guys that when you look at his history, you start seeing the signs of, could he potentially end up being a serial killer? Because he is a killer, but luckily he was caught after he committed some very, very heinous murders. But there's a number of different signs. If you kind of remember back to an old episode we did talking about serial killers in depth, we talked about the McDonald triad, and in the McDonald triad, which is used to sort of explain serial killers' behaviors and where that might stem from, the 3 factors are bedwetting, arson, and animal cruelty. And as we'll see in Matthew's story, he fits 2 of the 3. So forewarning, this is a very disturbing episode, very graphic, just overall horrific. But one that also has a very inspirational end, which is hard to even imagine when you get into this. But there is a story of survival from one of the victims that is truly inspiring, and just it's hard to even wrap your head around what she went through. But with that being said, let us get into Matthew Hoffman, the Leaf Killer. So let's talk a little bit about who Matthew Hoffman is. Where did he come from? What's his origin story? Well, he was born Matthew James Hoffman on November 1st, 1980, to Patricia and Robert Hoffman in Warren, Ohio. We don't really know a whole lot about his early life. In a lot of these more recent cases, it can be difficult to find, sort of the full backstory of their childhoods, or it just hasn't been reported on. But we do know that when he was 16, his parents got divorced, and Matthew moved with his mom to Apple Valley, Ohio in Knox County. And it was there that he began his sophomore year at East Knox High School. In 1999, he graduated and enrolled in a local career center, hoping to become an industrial electrician. But that didn't really pan out for him. So instead, in 2000, he left Ohio and actually made his way over to the mountain town of Steamboat Springs, Colorado. Very beautiful place in Colorado. Actually, one of my favorite mountain towns, I think.
I mean, I think I've been there. I don't even know how many times, but just for the skiing, just because it's like
world-renowned.
Yeah,
skiing.
It's one of the best in the state.
It's just absolutely gorgeous there. They're really known for like their aspen trees.
Right.
When they're in season. It's absolutely beautiful. But Matthew, he moves up to Steamboat Springs, Colorado, and then he moves into a motel and starts working for a plumbing company. And during this time, Matthew really kept to himself. Scott Barnes, the plumbing contractor that Matthew worked for, described him as quiet, and he once said he was a little on the strange side. He was a follower and did not have a strong personality. For a 20-year-old, it's kind of unusual, especially to an employer who hires a lot of kids. So even his employer in Colorado was like, yeah, this guy's definitely strange.
Well, and I think it's that's an extra strange adjective to describe a young man as a follower. You know, it just seemed like at this point, Matthew was really willing to relinquish control to anyone. Like, yep, you take the reins, I'll do it, whatever you say.
Which, you know, I feel like a lot of guys at that age are kind of more so the opposite, you know,
right,
they're
headstrong.
Right. They're out on their own. They're really
Right.
trying to just do their own thing and not really, you know, so, you know, trying to follow that follower path per se. But Matthew worked for him for about 3 months before he stopped showing up for work. A week later, Matthew broke into a townhouse where he had done plumbing work while the owner was out of town. And he actually stayed there for a few days. He cooked some meals, he watched TV, and even used their jacuzzi. He also took several items and put them in the owner's Chevy Suburban, and then just took the Suburban. So now he's, you know, going down the path of crime. And Matthew became worried about his fingerprints being everywhere. So to cover his tracks, he decided to burn down the townhouse, which is just to go to the extreme of, oh shit, I broke into this townhouse. I've got evidence there. Well, I can't go clean it up, or I didn't even think about that before I broke into the townhouse. I'll just go burn it down. That's pretty extreme.
Very extreme. And, you know, we were talking a little bit beforehand, and one of the investigators involved was discussing how, like, you know, arson is obviously like somewhat of a normal crime for a young man. Like, not a normal crime for a young man like this, but you see it often. If there's an arson occurring, it's a young man doing it. However, what's strange about this one is typically they would target, you know, abandoned buildings or somewhere kind of off on its own. Whereas Matthew, this is a townhome in a condominium. Like, there are many other people nearby. So it's not just that he wanted to conceal evidence, but he was uncaring to the people who were surrounding him.
Yeah. Again, it's a townhome, so there's other people that live in the building.
Right.
And he was more concerned about just covering up his tracks, which what was fingerprints. That's it.
Like, fingerprints for like
DNA, I guess,
petty theft. Really?
Right. Just for basic burglary. I mean, it doesn't seem like he took anything insane, or, I mean, he just kind of like lived in their place while they were gone. So to go like, yeah, I'm going to go burn it down is wild. So he bought 2 5-gallon gas tanks, filled them, and then went back to the townhouse and set it on fire. The fire quickly spread to the joining units. And while no one died, 16 people were displaced as a result of it. And the fire cost $2 million in damages. I mean, that's crazy. That's
serious. I mean, for a you know, what was supposed to just be, like we were saying, petty theft turned to arson to cover your tracks. $2 million. That is serious damages.
And he could have killed or hurt someone.
Right. Displaced 16 people.
Yeah. That, if I was one of those townhome owners, I'd be so pissed.
Fucking mad.
Like, just because this kid fucking didn't want to get caught breaking in.
Using a jacuzzi.
Yeah. It's just wild. The car that Matthew had stolen was found the next day abandoned in a retail parking lot, and the items that he had taken were still inside of the Suburban. An investigation quickly pointed to Matthew as the likely culprit, and when police searched the motel room where Matthew had been living, he was gone. But there were 3 huge "Welcome to Steamboat Springs Town" signs that were found. He had also been found to be responsible for stealing them. So he's out there stealing the town signs too.
Right. There's like a level of, I don't know, maybe not kleptomania, but he wants to do these like big scale. But ultimately, I mean, not like meaningless, worthless, really. He's not going to be able to resell these signs. It's more just for the thrill of like, I can take this.
Yeah, I think he just likes to evade being caught. Like
Right.
he likes to try to sneak around and hope he doesn't, get arrested. But what he did after this was he fled Colorado and then returned to Apple Valley to live with his mom and his stepdad. But of course, just because you leave the state and cross state lines, your crimes are going to follow you. And the authorities tracked him down and then extradited him back to Colorado to face charges. In January of 2001, Matthew was convicted of arson, burglary, and motor vehicle theft. He was sentenced to 8 years, but served only 6 in prison. In January 2007, he was released and allowed to return to Ohio for the duration of his probation. When he got back to Ohio, he moved in with his mom and then got a job as a truck driver. But this didn't last long at all because he soon found work as a tree trimmer. So this is where his love of trees kind of comes in. What better job for somebody who loves trees than to be a tree trimmer? And according to people who knew him, Matthew really seemed to like this job a lot. After this, he eventually got a girlfriend. He bought a small house and moved in with her and her young child. Her identity has not been made public, but she has stated that after living together, their relationship became toxic and she ended up leaving him. At one point on October 24th, she came to the home to get some of her things and Matthew became violent. According to a police report, he pinned her against the wall, pressed her neck with his forearm and choked her. She managed to get away and went to the police, and she told them that she believed he was going to kill her, but she did not want to press charges. A few days later, Matthew lost his job as a tree trimmer, and according to reports, he was fired for exaggerating his experience and just creeping out his supervisor.
Well, and I also believe he didn't disclose to them that he, had been convicted.
Had charges, yeah.
He had spent years
He's a
in prison.
convicted felon.
Right.
Yeah. So he's just... It just seems he has no regard for anybody but himself.
Right.
And that's very obvious. And he just does whatever he thinks he needs to do. He doesn't care who he affects. And, now we're seeing that he's got this violent side to him as well.
Right.
He's definitely a dangerous individual. And it sounds like too, his time in prison was not good. He did not do very well in prison. And I can imagine why. I mean, he's this creepy, weird guy.
Who is like, on one hand, can't handle his impulses, but on the other hand, can't really make up his mind to lead anything. Like he's a follower through and through. And so it's just like, what do you do with that? Like,
yeah, you can't really, I guess you have to be a follower in prison, but
right.
You don't want to appear as a weak follower.
Right.
Because yes, your time in prison will be difficult. And so and I'm sure he had some violent encounters in prison, which probably hardened him quite a bit. But now he's dealing with, how do I go forward in life? I can't keep a job. I'm a convicted felon. And so now he's kind of turning down that path of crime because he doesn't really know what else to do. And he doesn't really have anybody to support him. I mean, he's kind of just this loner. He's just going out on his own, trying to make things work.
Right.
This Mother's Day, frame what makes your mom special with Aura frames. Aura frames are everywhere in my life. My wife absolutely loves Aura frames. I love them too. I actually have an Aura frame in my office that my wife gifted me for my birthday. And the great thing about Aura frames is it replaces all those old school traditional picture frames with a frame that lives on. You can constantly update it through the app. And what's great is if you get it for your mom, maybe your mom's not the most tech savvy person. Maybe she doesn't even know how to use her phone. Well, what's great about it is you can preload all the photos and videos to the Aura frame and send it to her. So all she has to do is pull it out of the box, plug it in. And what's even better about it is Aura frames gives you unlimited cloud storage so that you can continue to upload photos and videos to your mom's frame whenever you want. And you can keep her updated on your life. Maybe you've got a new relationship, maybe you've got a child, and that way, no matter where she lives, she can always see you, see what's going on in your life, and you can constantly upload memories to it. I think we have 5 or 6 frames at our house. We have a couple here at the office as well that we put all of our office photos on, and we love them. We absolutely love Aura frames, and it really makes for a perfect gift for anyone in your life, especially your special mom. Every frame comes packaged in a premium gift box with no price tag. You can download the free app or text photos straight to your frame. It actually reached the #1 spot in the App Store on Christmas Day in 2025. It's really starting to take off. But truly the best thing about it is the simplicity of using it, organizing it, and you can invite other people to upload photos to it with the Aura app. It really is the best digital frame out there. Named #1 by Wirecutter, you can save on gifts moms love by visiting auraframes.com. And for a limited time, listeners can get $25 off their best-selling Carver matte frame. I have that one. It's amazing. With code LIGHTSOUT. That's auraframes.com. Promo code LIGHTSOUT. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout, please. Terms and conditions apply.
Like we were saying, he had a deep love and fascination with trees, which is why, losing this tree trimmer job was such a blow to him and this life he had structured. This was another thing we were discussing before recording, was that one of the investigators really believed that after he got out of prison the first time, he made a good faith effort, those were her words, to live a normal life. And for a time at least, and then this fact that he can't control his own impulses, lost the job, maybe the only thing that gave him meaning. And then suddenly he starts going in on this, and he attacks his girlfriend,
Yeah, he seems very lost.
Very lost.
And he doesn't know, like you said, he doesn't know how to deal with these impulses or turn them into something productive.
Right.
And now he's got this criminal history working against him. And so he's just very, very lost. And, that's a dangerous spot to be.
Danger. But back to his love of trees, this was a lifetime thing. He absolutely loved climbing trees and just being around them. But around this time, when everything was falling apart, his love for them turned into an unhealthy obsession. An ex-girlfriend later said that he would spend his free time pitching a hammock between trees and lying there for hours. He would also make tight ropes between them and walk across, kind of like a slackline situation. And he was often seen collecting leaves in nearby forests. A neighbor said that they would constantly see Matthew just lying in a tree in his front yard, watching all of his neighbors. One neighbor, Donna Davis, even told her kids to stay inside whenever they saw him out. She later said, "He would sit and listen to us up in a tree. He had a hammock and he would just sit there and listen to us. He was just different. He was very different." Some people have even speculated that Matthew is experiencing dendrophilia, which, like Josh was saying, is an attraction to trees. Some people with dendrophilia experience a strong admiration for trees, while others may act on their sexual arousal for them. It's unclear how much he was acting on his interest in trees, but we do know that trees play a significant role in this case, so much so that it earned Matthew the creepy moniker, the Leaf Killer. So this brings us all to November 2010. Tina Hermann was a 32-year-old single mother living in Knox County with her 2 kids, 13-year-old Sarah and 11-year-old Cody. People who knew Tina described her as a bubbly, fun-loving person who was also very devoted to her children. She also liked collecting dolphin figurines, and she just loved sunflowers. Tina was only 15 when she met the father of her children, Larry, and the 2 of them were 19 when they had Sarah. Then 2 years later, Cody came along. But sometime after that, Larry and Tina decided to break up. Tina and the kids moved into an apartment, and she got a job at a local Target distribution center. While working there, she met her boyfriend, Greg, and after they dated for a while, they decided to move in together. So the 2 of them, along with Sarah and Cody, moved into a home on King Beach Drive in Howard, Ohio. Now, it was around this time that Tina got a job at the local Dairy Queen. Her coworkers described her as a wonderful employee, and they enjoyed working with her. She would often bring Sarah and Cody in to hang out at a table while she just worked. Other employees said they loved when the kids were there and described them as good kids. Cody was a skilled baseball player who wanted to become a helicopter pilot. And Sarah, she was a little reserved, but was a good student who also played sports. While the family was well known in the local community, the home they lived in was in an isolated area of town. The split-level house sat on a country road, surrounded by forests on all sides. But even though they were, away from people, Tina managed to make a friend in the neighborhood, 41-year-old Stephanie Sprang. Stephanie grew up in Knox County, and by 2010, she was a hardworking single mother with 3 jobs to support her family. Stephanie and Tina got to know each other once Tina and the kids moved into the house, and they became fast friends. They spent a lot of time together, and Tina would even accompany Stephanie on her cleaning gigs, and they would work out together at the gym. When Tina and Greg hit a rough patch in their relationship, it was Stephanie who was there to support her. And the two of them had decided to break up, and even though it was pretty amicable, they still had to continue living together in this house. So it was at this time that Tina was searching for a new place, but unfortunately, she and the kids would never get a chance to find a home, because on November 10th, 2010, the unthinkable happened.
Because that Wednesday started like any other. Tina ran some errands in the morning after getting the kids ready for school. Around 11:30 a.m., she came home and began unloading groceries in the kitchen, when all of a sudden she was attacked from behind. Matthew Hoffman had broken into the house. He snuck in through a broken garage door that wasn't closing all the way. He later admitted that he had camped out in the forest across the street from the house, waited for everyone to leave, then went in. After beating Tina, he pulled out a knife, forced her into a room, and made her lie on the bed. Just as he began to stab her, Stephanie walked into the house. Stephanie was supposed to go with Tina to look at apartments for her and the kids, and she never could have imagined what happened when she walked into her friend's home. Stephanie yelled at him to get off Tina. He did, and then he turned his attention towards her. He then chased her down the hallway, and Stephanie ran into Sarah's bedroom, and Matthew then busted in behind her. He grabbed her and stabbed her multiple times in the chest. There's blood spatter all over the walls and all over the carpet as Stephanie lay there dying. After Stephanie passed, Matthew went back to Tina's bedroom where she was still hanging on. He then stabbed her multiple times, and she sadly died from her wounds. After the frenzied attack, Matthew got to work covering up his actions. He dragged both of their bodies into the bathroom and placed them in the tub to dismember them. The family dog, a miniature pinscher named Tanner, was barking uncontrollably. And forewarning, you might want to skip this if you don't like animal cruelty. But Matthew was worried that the neighbors would hear him. So sadly, he killed Tanner the dog and dismembered him as well. In the middle of his horrific scene, the front door swung open and Cody and Sarah came in from school. Sarah looked down to take her shoes off and noticed the blood on the floor. She also noticed that the dog wasn't in his kennel and wasn't running up to see them. But even more strange, Tina hadn't come to greet them, something she did every day. Terrified, Sarah yelled for her mother but received no answer. Out of nowhere, Matthew came running down the hallway straight towards them with a knife in his hands. Cody tried to run out the front door, but Matthew grabbed him before he had a chance. He then immediately stabbed him in the back of the head to keep him from escaping. During the chaos, Sarah ran down the hallway into her room and locked the door, but she was met with the terrifying scene of Stephanie's blood all over her walls. She didn't even have a chance to process what she was seeing before Matthew broke down her door. Just an absolutely terrifying scene. He grabbed her and then put a knife to her chest, and then he hoisted her over his shoulders and carried her downstairs. Down there, he tied her arms behind her back and bound her legs. Sarah asked him where her mom was, but he didn't answer. Then Matthew asked her if anyone else was coming to the house. She told him that her mom's boyfriend was coming home, and for some reason, Matthew just laughed at this. Next, he picked her back up, brought her upstairs, and then laid her down on the kitchen floor. He stuffed a towel in her mouth, wrapped another around her head, and then placed a pillowcase over her. Then he pushed her to the floor and asked her if she could see anything, and she said no. She could see a tiny sliver, but all she saw were the grocery bags on the floor that Tina had brought in just hours before. Matthew then left her in that position as he continued to clean up the scene. She wasn't sure how much time had actually passed, but she lay there hoping that someone would find her. Unfortunately, no one would for a while. After he was done in the house, Matthew picked up Sarah and carried her out to the garage. She still had the pillowcase and towel over her head, and through that sliver, she saw that she was being put into Stephanie's car, which was inside of the garage. She was confused why it was even there and was completely unaware that Matthew had already killed and dismembered her. He put Sarah in the back of the car. Since she still couldn't see much, she was completely unaware that she had been placed next to the trash bags that contained the dismembered, mutilated bodies of her mom, brother Stephanie, and their dog. She had no idea where she was going when Matthew sped away. She also had no clue at the time that Matthew had also just incidentally evaded the police. That same afternoon at around 4 p.m., the manager at the local Dairy Queen, Valerie, became concerned when Tina didn't show up for work. She was always a very responsible employee, would have called if she was not going to come in that day, and was also good friends with Valerie too. So it was incredibly unlike her to just not show up for work or even text her. Valerie didn't waste any time and called the police to request a welfare check on her. An officer went to the home and found that Tina's car wasn't in the driveway and that there was really nothing suspicious that they could see going on the outside. So after a while, he left. But that same officer returned to check on the home hours later. There were still no cars in the driveway and all the lights were off. So it was easy for him to be like, well, just nobody's home that day. However, the next day, Tina missed her next shift, and Valerie grew even more concerned and decided to take matters into her own hands when she wasn't answering her phone calls. She then drove straight to Tina's house herself. She knocked on the door, but no one answered. She wasn't ready to give up yet, though. Valerie walked around the house and noticed that the window was unlocked, so she slid it open and climbed through. As soon as she entered, she saw blood all over the carpet. Valerie immediately left the home and called the police back. And during her call, she said to them, "There's blood everywhere." Now, with probable cause, the police were able to enter the home and start processing the crime scene. The house indicated that something very violent and horrific had happened there, because there's just blood absolutely all over this house, covering multiple walls. There were massive pools that stained the carpet. There was also beer cans littered throughout some of the rooms. They found 2 massive blood drag marks coming out of the bedrooms, converging in the hallway and leading to the bathroom. Because of this, detectives believed that the family was most likely deceased. I mean, I'm not going to show any of the crime scene photos on here, but I've looked at them and it is just
Extremely graphic.
very, very graphic.
I believe one of the FBI agents who investigated the scene, even like he said this was one of the most violent scenes he'd ever come across.
Just, yeah. I mean, it absolute devastation at the hands of Matthew. But they also noticed 2 separate shoe marks that had walked through the blood. Investigators realized that one of the shoe marks matched with an empty shoebox that sat in Sarah's closet, which led them to believe it's possible that at some point she walked into the home after the murders and she could still be alive.
Which is not, that's a fair assumption because still her car's not around, she's not around, no one is around. So it's like, obviously seeing the scene, your mind might jump to everyone's been killed, but you just simply don't have any confirmation either way. So you have to go off of everything at that point.
I mean, I think it's a very hopeful thing to even think. I mean, to walk into this and think anybody survived this kind of attack I mean, I can't even imagine being an investigator walking into this and be like, oh my God. I mean, just horrific.
Meanwhile, Sarah had been experiencing a horrible nightmare. After putting her in the car, Matthew had parked the car and left her inside while he disposed of the trash bags containing the dismembered body parts. Sarah's head was still covered and she had no idea what he was doing. Then, after leaving her alone for several hours, Matthew got back in the car and started driving again. After just a few minutes, he parked and hoisted her over his shoulders again. She had no idea where she was, but could hear a door open. Matthew put her on the floor and took the pillowcases off of her head. Still gagged, she realized that she was inside of a home. He then told her to go. She tried to crawl, but since her arms and legs were still bound, she wasn't able to make it very far. It seems this might have just been a way to mess with her, rather than actually giving her a chance to escape.
Which speaks to Matthew's just doing this for the thrill.
Right. It's this, I don't know, the thrill of almost going back to those signs or the arson, but also the control of being like, even though I'm giving you the chance to escape now, you can't because of what I've done to you.
He likes the power.
Right. So after a few minutes of Sarah squirming on the ground, Matthew picked her up and carried her to the bathroom. The bathroom walls were covered from floor to ceiling with plastic bags filled with leaves, including over the mirror. They were each meticulously placed in rows. Matthew knelt on the floor right in front of her and began taunting her. He asked if she was hungry, but before she answered, he said she wouldn't eat. He then cut the binding off of her left arm. He put a pair of socks on her hands and secured them to her, wrapping duct tape around her wrists. After that, he told her to follow him. He led her through this mostly empty house. There were random items scattered throughout, along with bizarre writings and markings on the walls. Then he walked her into a room and stopped at a door with the desk blocking it. Sarah nervously watched as he pushed it out of the way and opened the door. He made her walk and then pushed her down a flight of stairs before closing the door behind her.
Which, before we talk about this absolutely creepy dark basement she ends up in, but going back to the rows of leaves, like, you have to see a picture of this to really wrap your head around it. This is crazy. He's just got, I don't know, dozens and dozens of plastic bags of leaves. I assume either he gathered himself or maybe he went around and, went through people's trash to pick up their leaves, that they had put out to be picked up. Because, there's just rows and rows stacked from floor to ceiling. It's a wild picture.
He's building his house out of leaves. That seems to almost be the purpose of all of this.
Yeah, like he wants to be encased.
Right.
Sort of in this tomb of leaves. It's very eerie. Yeah, because this is a bathroom.
Right.
You can see the toilet and the sink. What on earth? He's got like plastic covering the window. It's just so bizarre.
No light, just all these leaves. And I think it's extra telling that the mirror itself is covered by leaves. He doesn't even want to look at himself.
No.
He just wants to be surrounded by leaves.
It makes you wonder if he's almost living in this dark fantasy of his. Like, he's created this sort of dark dungeon filled with leaves that he feels like this weird connection to, almost like I've heard people describe it as almost like ritualistic in a lot of ways. Like, he's created this ritualistic space that he's, bringing her to, and it's kind of all part of this dark fantasy that he has.
Right. I wouldn't be surprised. I think aside from just this strange way in which he lives, I think he sells himself a lot of fantasies, as we'll get to try to justify his actions along the way.
Absolutely. But yeah, the house is it's bizarre.
It's awful.
In one room, there's just like milk crates just hanging on the wall as shelves. It looks like he's got there's like random stuff in there.
Really the only noticeable thing in this entire house are the leaves.
Yeah, literally.
That's the main
There's
piece
not
of
much
furniture.
else. This episode's also brought to you by Wayfair. Wayfair is here to help you decorate any space, whether it's your home, your office, the outdoors, your bathroom. Wayfair has literally anything and everything you could possibly want to decorate your home. Furniture, picture frames. We've definitely hit up Wayfair for a number of things for our new office space. And what's great is that everything ships extremely fast. They literally have every style known to man, whether it's modern farmhouse, mid-century, you want a totally futuristic vibe, you can literally find a piece of furniture for any space you can imagine. And as I speak, Wayfair is finishing up Way Day. Through the 27th, you can score the best deals in a home, like 80% off with free shipping on everything. They make it easy to find what fits your style and needs, from furniture and decor to home improvement and outdoor essentials. I've gotten fountains for like the back patio before, which was pretty sick. They had some really cool fountains. Tables, office tables, couches, console tables. Decorations, plants, you name it. Wayfair has got it. And when it comes to furniture, I am not one to set up furniture. It's like literally the last thing I ever want to do is set up a piece of furniture. But with Wayfair, you can get in-home assembly services and installation for a truly seamless experience. They have thousands of 5-star reviews to help you shop with confidence, and their customer service has been nothing but great in the past. So if you're looking for a new home decor or furniture, check out Wayfair. Wayday is a sale to shop the best deals in home. We're talking up to 80% off with fast and free shipping on everything. Head to wayfair.com April 25th through the 27th to shop Wayday. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair. Every style, every home.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
And for Sarah's part, she was now in the basement, which was completely dark and empty. There was a small area accessible only through a giant hole in the wall, and in that space, there was, again, a giant pile of leaves. On top of it lay Sarah's comforter that Matthew had brought from her mom's house. She later asked him about it, and he told her it was her new bed. He wanted to make her feel comfortable, so he brought her her comforter. And while Sarah was trying to survive this horrific situation, investigators were still piecing together what had happened at the house.
Yeah, and there's some pictures of her sleeping situation in the basement. And it's just an unfinished basement, concrete walls. I mean, I think it's more of like a crawl space.
Yeah, it's a
not
dungeon.
Really a basement. Yeah, it's absolutely a dungeon. She's created this leaf-filled dungeon that she's going to be kept in.
And I don't know, there's just something, maybe it's just the fact that it goes back to this dendrophilia, but extra terrifying about the bed made of leaves to me, more so than even the bathroom. It's like he's extending this obsession to someone else, forcing it on. It's not just his thing anymore. Now it's Sarah's thing too.
Yeah, really good point. He it's almost like he wanted her to, connect with him on that, and forcefully. But he wants, he's clearly trying to see if he can groom his victim, and she's obviously a lot younger than him, and this is sort of his way. Bringing the comforter is kind of him extending this, like, oh, I'm not this bad guy. Look, I got your comforter so you're not cold. Like, I put leaves down for you. You're not going to lay on the concrete. And I think he's trying to he thinks he's going to win her over in some way.
I think you're absolutely right on that. So while Sarah's still trying to process what's happening to her, the investigation is still continuing. And so on Thursday evening, around 7 p.m., Tina's car was located on the campus of Kenyon College near the baseball fields. A lockdown was issued at the school while authorities searched the area, but they found nothing. The next day, November 12th, investigators were finally able to formally question Tina's boyfriend, Greg. At first, he was considered a suspect because he and Tina were going through a breakup, and he hadn't been seen around when Valerie called in the welfare check. But he insisted that while they weren't together, there was never any violence in their relationship, and he still cared about her. He also had an alibi. After leaving home on Wednesday morning, he went to work, and when his shift was over, he went over to his friend's house, and the two of them went golfing the next day. He hadn't reported her missing since he was completely unaware that anything had happened. He had no idea until Thursday afternoon when his mom called to tell him. And after hearing this and verifying his alibi, Greg was completely cleared. And with that, there were absolutely no more leads on who had done this.
That's what's so insane to me, is that from the initial brutal crime scene, they have not been able to identify who the assailant is. And yet the first time, Matthew does this burglary, he burns the whole place down. But this time he commits a heinous murder, and they can't track him down yet. They have no idea who it is.
I wonder if part of that is, wanting them to discover this horrific scene, or if another part was that he kind of learned from his mistakes. He was like, it's the arson that got me caught last time. Maybe if I just don't do that, I won't get caught.
Yeah, it could be.
Meanwhile, ground searches were underway in the local community. Missing persons flyers were posted around the county, and aircraft equipped with infrared technology were seen flying over the neighborhood. Many people were trying to find Tina, Stephanie, and the kids, but no one could find anything that pointed to their whereabouts.
All the while, Sarah had no idea people were searching for her. She'd been trapped in Matthew's basement since arriving at his house. There were no windows, so she wasn't able to see what was going on outside, if it was day or night. She didn't even know what day it was, or even how much time had passed. And while captive in the basement, Matthew would visit her. One time he came downstairs holding a dead squirrel and told her it was food for her. When she refused to eat it, he brought down a bowl of cereal with sour milk. Yeah, Matthew also had a strange obsession with creatures that live in trees as well, especially squirrels.
His neighbors, I believe, spotted him like literally hunting and killing squirrels and then eating them.
Yeah. Like lots of them.
Lots of them.
To the point where you're like, what on earth's going on? I mean, if any of us saw our neighbor catching the squirrels and eating them, I think we'd be concerned too. I mean,
Absolutely.
good God.
And there isn't, at least to my knowledge, like anyone saying that this dendrophilia also came with this potential belief that he was like a literal, woodland predator. And I personally just see a connection between the two, like this love of the trees and just the forest in general, and then also the fact that he's hunting.
Absolutely. I think that's 100% correct. I mean, he's clearly created this world in his mind,
right,
where he is the alpha predator, and yeah, the squirrels are in danger.
Right.
I mean, I just am like picturing him walking around outside, like climbing up in the trees to get squirrels, and because we don't have any record that he would like shoot them. I think he might have like trapped them or grabbed them. Yeah.
And like, these are not small trees. I mean, he's climbing 30, 40-foot trees to try to get these things. And also, that's just where he likes to hang out. Like, he's going above and beyond to trap these squirrels.
Yeah. God. The other aspect to this whole thing is sexual. Matthew obviously didn't just take Sarah because, he thought she would play into his fantasy. He clearly had some sick sexual attraction towards her, and so he did sexually assault her at knife point. And following the assault, he taped her legs together and placed a makeshift diaper over her pants, because that was the one thing too. He would not let her out of the basement to go to the bathroom, so she just had to go to the bathroom down there where she was laying. And after that, she just remained lying there, paralyzed by fear, just hoping that she doesn't become pregnant by him. I mean, just absolutely terrifying. Another time when she asked about her mother and brother, Matthew threatened her life because he's like, I don't ever want to hear you talk about them again. And maybe that was because maybe there's some guilt there, or, he feels guilty about killing her mother. I don't know. Or just he wants her to forget about her past. I think is more likely scenario here. He's trying to brainwash her and just have her forget about all things that happened to her.
Her previous life.
Yep. He also told her he kidnapped her for ransom, a word that she didn't even fully understand, that there was a ransom note. He also claimed he had friends that were watching the house and would kill her if she ever tried to escape. We do know that this was not true whatsoever, but obviously in Sarah's situation, she believed him. I mean, she's terrified of him at this point, and why wouldn't she believe him? Matthew would often come down to the basement to just stare at her. Just stand over her and stare. And in those moments, Sarah had no idea what he was thinking or possibly plotting. She would just lie on the bed of leaves, absolutely terrified for her life. Meanwhile, detectives were about to get a break in the case, luckily. While processing the scene, investigators came across a plastic Walmart bag in the garage, and inside it contained garbage bags and tarps. But what stood out to them was that there was a receipt in the bag with a timestamp of 12:08 a.m., which was hours after Valerie had called the police to request a welfare check. So detectives head over to that Walmart and ask to view the surveillance footage for that timestamp. And that's when they found a man checking out at the register. And so they went through the rest of the store's footage to see what his activity was while he was there. This is where CCTV really came in clutch, because investigators observed this man calmly walking into the store. He doesn't appear to be in a hurry whatsoever, but he went straight to the aisles where the garbage bags and tarps were. Investigators later said he walked through the store as if he knew exactly where he was going. After obtaining the items, he then went to the deli section and picked up a pre-made turkey sandwich. He then made his way to the registers, but stopped at a display of t-shirts on sale for $1. He then picked out an orange and black one before checking out. The man paid in cash. So obviously from the receipt, there was no name on it. So that was unfortunate. They weren't able to get a name. But again, they have really good video evidence here. And what was even better is that they were able to follow him from the surveillance cameras, because obviously Walmart, they got cameras everywhere, inside, outside. And they were able to see the vehicle in which he got into and the vehicle that drove out of the Walmart parking lot. And sure enough, that vehicle was a Toyota Yaris. The cameras weren't able to capture the license plate, but investigators were able to use the state's database to identify all owners of Toyota Yarises. And that's when they came across Mr. Matthew Hoffman as an owner of a Toyota Yaris. And in a shocking coincidence, Matthew had recently updated his driver's license. And in this new photo, believe it or not, he was wearing the same shirt that he was seen wearing in the Walmart surveillance cameras. Maybe the only shirt that he owns, and it's like a woodland camo.
Yeah, it's just
shirt.
a regular camo shirt. I mean, I bet it's probably just it's all just going back to the fucking leaves. I mean,
Totally. He would wear like mossy oak
right,
camo
right.
around, yeah. Authorities then traced Matthew to 2 addresses in Knox County. One was his mom's house in Howard, half a mile from the crime scene, and the other was his house in Mount Vernon, which is about 10 miles away. Detectives weren't sure which home was his current residence, but they decided to get search warrants for both so that they could hit both at the same time. Smart. On November 14th, 2010 at 8 a.m. bright and early, SWAT teams came roaring in and busted down doors, kicked doors in, or actually I think they asked to have the man open the door for them at his mom's house to see if he was there, but they said, nope, Matthew is not here. But luckily, because they sent a team over to Matthew's home in Mount Vernon, that's where they found him and they arrested him. It's important to note there are some conflicting reports about what happened exactly. Some say police had a no-knock warrant and accessed the house. Others state they knocked and Matthew calmly opened the door. But either way, they got him and arrested him immediately. And when they entered his home, detectives found a very bizarre scene. Because in the middle of the living room was a massive pile of leaves, about 4 to 5 feet high, covering most of the floor. There was no furniture, just tons and tons of leaves. Police are very, very confused by this, and they're thinking what he's probably covering up bodies or, evidence or something like that. So they went and dug through all of it, but there was just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of leaves. I mean, he's got his whole floor is covered with these leaves. They were also scattered throughout the house. Some were loose, while others were still in plastic bags, stapled to walls. Officers searched the whole house, but found no trace of the victims. Then one of them noticed there was a desk in front of a door, which obviously seemed very suspicious to them. So they moved the desk, opened the door, and then saw the stairs. Detectives then went down, and that's where they located Sarah lying on a bed of leaves. Her hands were still covered in socks and tape, and the makeshift diaper was over her jeans, and she was still bound by tape on her legs. It's crazy. There's actually some photos of when they found her, and you can see he's got her bound with rope and socks and duct tape, and she's just there laying on the leaves. It's just unbelievable. Sarah later said she heard the police enter while she was in the basement, but thought they were the friends that Matthew had spoken about who would potentially kill her if she tried to escape. So she was too afraid to move, or make noise for fear that she would be killed. That was until obviously the police found her and they were able to rescue her. They walked her up the stairs and out of the house, and it was the first time that she had seen daylight in days. Disoriented, she told officers she was late for school and asked them to take her there. But they told her that she needed to go to the hospital first, obviously. While with officers, Sarah was asked about Tina, Stephanie, and Cody, and she told them that Cody had been attacked but had no idea what had happened to them. After being able to recover for a bit, the sheriff gave a statement to the press and said, "She's a very brave little girl. Not only is she assisting in the investigation, under the circumstances, a 13-year-old being held captive for 5 days, I'd call her the epitome of bravery." Which absolutely,
Yeah.
Good God. Going through that 13 years old, scared out of your mind, you have this psychopath that's keeping you captive, telling you he's going to kill you.
And completely unaware of what's happened to your family.
Right. You're being sexually assaulted. I mean, just literal hell. They did take Matthew into custody without incident, though. An investigator started questioning him to try to get to the bottom of what happened and obviously find the rest of the family members.
But, Matthew wasn't willing to answer for his crimes. He was brought into an interrogation room where 2 detectives sat across from him. Matthew refused to say a word. The detectives tried different interrogation techniques to get him to speak, but nothing worked. Matthew just sat there in a daze and wouldn't even look at them. At one point, he lay his head on the table, but otherwise, he just sat still and silent for about 4 hours. And in some of the footage for this, I saw it in that documentary. It's like the officers are like, "Can you hear me, Matthew? Can you hear me?" Like they are directly asking him multiple times, and he's
like in a trance or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Then the detectives tried an emotional approach. They said the victims' families are upset and want answers about their loved ones. Something about this got to Matthew, and he balled up his fist and pounded it against his chest. Then he made a breaking motion with his hands, kind of like,
Yeah.
like that. Detectives asked what he meant, and Matthew repeated the motion. When asked if he was heartbroken over what had happened, Matthew quietly nodded. That was the only form of communication he gave them during this first interrogation. With Matthew unable to speak, authorities had no idea how to locate Tina, Stephanie, and Cody. But they were conducting extensive searches in the county. Authorities combed the woods, and dive teams searched local bodies of water. They even found a vehicle underwater, but when they pulled it out, it turned out to be unrelated to this case. So detectives decided to get answers from Matthew again and took a different approach. When Matthew was first brought into jail, officers noticed he seemed to warm up to the female officer who handled his intake. For this interrogation, they sent in a female FBI agent. They put her hair up in a high ponytail after detectives found a picture of Sarah with her hair pulled back. She put on a friendly and kind act, and at one point, she put a jacket over his shoulders while he was handcuffed to warm him up. This tactic actually seemed to work because after about 30 minutes of silence, Matthew started talking. But it wasn't what detectives were hoping for. In a quiet, meek voice, he said he didn't know what happened. He told her he couldn't remember anything and didn't know who the people were. He stated, "I think I'm crazy. I wouldn't be here if I didn't. I'm afraid to even know what it was I did." He also said, "I would help you guys if I could. I don't know. I can't think of it." He then told investigators that all he remembers is finding Sarah in his home. He didn't know how she got there, but he said he wanted to take care of her. He said he'd let her take a shower, she played Wii video games, they watched Iron Man together. He cooked her hamburgers and planned to get her home by Christmas. And I don't know, I
Does
think...
this sound plausible at all?
Right, I think this goes back to what you were saying about it being a fantasy, I think there's a very real possibility that, Sarah was the target and the family was collateral, basically. And it was so he could, while the rest of his life is falling apart, he could have this fantasy in which he's got a girl, they're watching movies, he's cooking her dinner, so even though he's put her in this horrific situation, in his head, similar to the leaves in the bathroom, he can play out this different scenario entirely. We're watching movies, we're hanging, we're playing video games together. And I don't know, I think that it really kind of shows just how broken he was. I mean, I think he's putting on an act when he says, like, I'm crazy, I don't remember what I did. But I think there is something to this fact that he's able to distance himself a little bit from what had actually happened.
I think he knows he's weird too.
Absolutely.
He knows he's just bizarre and strange,
Right.
and this dendrophilia is not something that many people share. He probably realized I'm not going to find a partner who will partake in this with me.
Right.
And he already had the other relationship, and that did not end well. And so he's desperate. He's definitely at a point, and I think you're right. I think the rest of the family was collateral, and he was originally going to just try to kidnap Sarah.
Right.
And when that didn't work out, or he, unexpectedly ran into Tina and the others, that he was just so desperate that he was willing to do whatever. And, maybe he had some sort of episode or something like that in that moment, or maybe there's something psychologically going on where he just kind of blacks out during all the violence and stuff. But I think he's also very calculated. I think he's much smarter than he's trying to play here with investigators, by trying to just play dumb, like, yeah, I don't know how she got there, and
I was gonna have her home by Christmas,
Yeah, like the investigators would be like, yeah, that's great, Matthew.
Right.
You're a good person.
I mean, honestly, I think he's kind of fishing for that a little bit.
Totally.
And of course, Sarah denies that any of this ever happened. In a later interview, she said, "I think he was just saying that to make people think that he felt good about himself, for him to think he fed me and stuff, and he didn't. He, meaning Matthew, didn't let me shower or any of that stuff." Detectives didn't believe the story, and after a few days of trying to get the truth from Matthew, the prosecution decided to make a deal with him. He was facing the possibility of the death penalty, and after consulting with the victims' families, it was decided that if he pleaded guilty and told them where the victims were, he would be sentenced to life in prison. Matthew told detectives he suddenly remembered what happened after he had a dream where he was working at a food processing plant and opened trash bags to find body parts. He said that when he woke up, he had a knot in his stomach and could recall everything. Now he could tell them everything that had happened, and on November 18th, 2010, he gave them a written statement.
I think another thing that comes to mind to me when it comes to sort of, all these things he's saying and his demeanor is I think he's also just trying to play the insanity card.
I think that's a huge part of it.
He's trying to in his mind, he thinks if I can convince them that I'm absolutely insane, which again, maybe he is, I don't know, but he's hoping that I will get a lesser charge, lesser sentence, that this will be easier for me if I just, which is like a common misconception that, if you plead insanity, that somehow you're going to end up in a better situation after the fact. And many times that is not the case. It's quite the opposite. So.
No, for the most part, if you plead insane, you're actually, even though you haven't been found guilty of a crime, you might spend your entire life in a involuntary psychiatric hold.
Yeah, which is not a fun place.
Right. And so I don't know. I think maybe the fact that he was able to get a deal, any deal, is he's like, oh, I had this dream and now I suddenly remember everything.
Well, I'm sure he was, when death penalty comes on the table, I mean, a lot of people change their tune.
Right.
Like, oh, I don't want to die. So, all right, I'll tell you what you want to know.
Right. So in this written statement, Matthew gave his account of what he had done. He wrote that he had watched the home for a few days. The night before the attack, he actually spent the night in the forest across the street, watching the home. And when he saw Tina leave in the morning, he broke in, supposedly intending only to rob them.
Which he says to rob them, and I think he's deducing what his original intentions were.
Right.
Again, to try to make himself look more innocent, but...
Yeah, because I don't know. I don't buy For one, he didn't steal anything aside from Sarah. And, if you look at like a typical stakeout, they are trying to remain hidden. They're trying to spend as little amount of time to find these weaknesses wherever they're trying to break into to then leave. They don't spend the night.
No, they're not sleeping in the trees across the street.
No.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And I'm sure investors are like, yeah, not really buying that.
Not really buying it, but we just want to know where they are.
Yeah.
He wrote, there was a certain amount of excitement in being in someone else's home without them being there. I was looking for anything of value that could be carried out easily. I think that also goes back to, what we've been saying, this excitement he's been feeling doing these criminal things, whether it's as petty as stealing the Steamboat Springs sign or, lighting a condo on fire.
Yeah, just he definitely gets a thrill out of stealing, but I think it's more so of sneaking around, not getting caught,
being places he shouldn't be.
Yes, exactly.
He later claimed that after about an hour in the home, he didn't see anything worth stealing. He was about to leave when he saw Tina pull into the driveway. So he hid in a bedroom and thought about how to escape, but he couldn't figure out a way. Instead, he snuck up behind her and beat her head with a blackjack weapon. Then he brought her into the bedroom and started stabbing her. Then Stephanie interrupted him, and he killed her too. He wrote, I have no idea when she got there, what she was doing there, and how she gained access. The other woman yelled at me. There were now 2 to deal with, and I did not know what to do. Matthew described his time after the 2 murders by writing, at this time, I was in a total state of shock. I wandered around the house, slowly coming to the realization of what I had done and how bad it was. During this time, I killed the dog because it would not stop barking. When Sarah and Cody came home from school, Matthew stabbed Cody to death near the front door, while Sarah hid in her room. An autopsy later revealed that the cause of death for Tina, Stephanie, and Cody was most likely massive blood loss from stab wounds. Right after that, he blindfolded and bound Sarah, then put her in the kitchen. He dragged Cody into the bathroom and continued to dismember his victims. In the written statement, Matthew didn't say he dismembered them. Instead, he described it as processing the bodies. Once he was done, he put all the body parts into 7 garbage bags. He loaded them into Stephanie's car and put Sarah in there too. He then drove 20 miles to Kokosing Lake Wildlife Area, a 160-acre lake in Fredericktown, Ohio, surrounded by forests. He knew of a massive, hollowed-out American beech tree there and chose that as his burial site. While he left Sarah in the car, he dragged the bags to the tree using tarps. He made a pulley system from a rope and used it to scale the tree to an opening 30 feet above the ground. Once up there, he pushed each bag into the opening, and they fell inside of the tree.
I mean, that's pretty elaborate.
Extreme. I mean, this is the type of burial site where I don't think authorities would have ever found it.
No, and I know they were saying, like, we would have never found this had he not made a map for us and told us where it was, unless a lightning strike took the tree down or something. Like, there would be no way.
30 feet inside, 30 feet high into the air inside of a random tree in a forest.
And only somebody who's obsessed with trees would even know.
Right.
Would have even sought out a tree like this. It makes you wonder when he found this tree.
I know.
Like, was he... I'm assuming he spent a lot of time in this area, in this forest, and maybe he just came across it. But to also, like, figure out how to do the pulley system and everything. I mean, again, it goes back to, I think this was a lot more calculated than he tries to make it seem. Like, he was like, oh, yeah, I just broke in to steal some stuff, and then, oh, they came home. And I'm like, no, you seem to have had this site picked out beforehand. You had pulleys ready to go. You
might not have had the victims, you know, so premeditated, but you definitely knew what you were going to do. And I wouldn't be surprised if he came across this tree while working as a tree trimmer. You know?
He could have been doing some work in there or something. Yeah, it's insane.
So after he buried the bodies inside of the tree, he then left the park with Sarah and brought her back to his home. But he wasn't done with the crime scene yet. After he put her in the basement, he drove back to Tina's house. He took Tina's car to the gas station and bought 2 5-gallon gas canisters to set the house on fire. Next, he pulled into a park, and a sheriff's deputy pulled up to his car. The officer told him the park was closed and asked him for his reason for being there and to see his driver's license. Matthew talked his way out of it, but he was so shaken that he didn't want to burn the house down anymore. He didn't bother to go back to the crime scene again to clean up. He ditched Tina's car, where it was found only a few days later, and walked back to the house. Once there, he built a small campfire outside and burned the shoes he wore that day while he drank a bottle of wine. After writing his statement, Matthew agreed to draw a map for the police to the tree where the bodies were, but only if they agreed not to harm the tree. He also requested pictures to prove that it wasn't destroyed. And I don't know. I mean,
what a strange request.
Especially when he's so willing to harm not only human beings, but animals. I mean, just really harm anything that comes in his way throughout his life. And now he's making like a specific instruction to police: do not harm this tree.
Yeah, and that's why I think that there's some type of almost ritual to this to him. Like I think this was something he was thinking about and fantasizing about for a long, long time. I mean, it just all seems a little too convenient, for it to work out the way that it did.
So the police went to Kokosing Park, and the hollow tree was right where Matthew said it would be. They saw an opening in the tree, climbed up a ladder to look into it, and they found all 7 trash bags. Crime scene investigators cut an opening in the tree to pull each one out. After hours of forensic work, every part of Tina, Stephanie, Cody, and the dog Tanner, they were all found.
And then on January 6, 2011, Matthew pled guilty to 3 counts of aggravated murder, abuse of a corpse, kidnapping, and rape. Family and friends of the victims, including Sarah, attended the hearing. Prosecutors read a statement on her behalf, and in it she said, "This is so sickening, Matthew, to know you even had the guts to do this." Matthew did not speak in court. His attorney, Bruce Malek, stated that Matthew apologized, but, quote, he did not feel that he would be able to make even a short statement without breaking down. What a load of shit. Oh, poor Matthew. And luckily, Matthew was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He is currently imprisoned at the Toledo Correctional institution, where I hope it is hell for him. According to prison records, he broke a glass shelf in March 2012, and he was charged with destroying property, disobedience, and creating a disturbance. Afterward, he was classified as a level 3 inmate and now requires close supervision. So, sounds like he's not having a very good time in prison. Unfortunately for all of us, as well as the victim's family members and Sarah, of course, Matthew will spend the rest of his life incarcerated and away from society because he's absolutely a danger to all. But after her harrowing ordeal, Sarah was sent to live with her father, Larry, and stepmother, Tracy. Sarah and Larry sat down for multiple TV interviews and even collaborated with author Robert Scott to publish the book The Girl in the Leaves. Stephanie Sprang's mother, Patricia Cullen, spoke out against the book. She stated to the press, "These people were brutally murdered in a very brutal way. I don't understand why people would need to read how my daughter was dismembered. Sarah lost her mother, her brother was kidnapped. Why would her father want to bring this all back up? How can this child heal if it's constantly going to be thrown in her face?" Matthew's mother told the press that she visited him in prison and informed him about the book's release. She said he didn't ask any questions and didn't say anything whatsoever about the case. Sarah and her family also founded the Tina Rose B. Hermann and Cody Alexander Maynard Healing Hearts Memorial Fund to support those affected by violent crime. Which I was just going to say, I'd love to support that memorial fund. So if anybody associated with that memorial fund knows anybody or how to get in contact with them, we'd love to help them from the Higher Hope Foundation if we can. Unfortunately, Sarah experienced another traumatic situation only a few years after she was rescued. In May 2013, her father, Larry, and stepmother, Tracy, were arrested on misdemeanor domestic violence charges after abusing Sarah. According to court records, Larry punched his daughter in the back, and 5 days later, Tracy kicked her down a flight of stairs. Horrible, my God.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the charges were dismissed after Larry and Tracy agreed to psychological evaluations and court-ordered parenting classes. I'm like, what kind of crock shit type of punishment is that? Sarah was granted a protection order and moved in with her maternal grandmother. I mean, my God, after everything she went through, she had to go through that as well. It's just so sad. Her grandma spoke to the press about the charges being dropped against them and said that alleviates a lot of her concerns about testifying in court against her father. The fact that so much time had passed from the time of the incident and the trauma Sarah has already been through, going to trial on this would have been very, very difficult, which I totally understand.
Absolutely.
Why on earth would we make her testify in trial?
Against her own father, to one of the last members of her, immediate family left.
Which maybe that's why they ended up sort of dismissing the charges and not having them go any further. But there had to have been a different way to go about doing that. But maybe that's what was best. But over the years, Sarah has publicly shown strength and resilience. She sat down for several interviews to recount what happened to her. And in 2019, she participated in a televised panel organized by Elizabeth Smart, another amazing inspirational figure I've had the absolute honor to meet before, along with other survivors of infamous abduction cases, including Gina De Jesus, Katie Beers, Kara Robinson, Alicia Kozakevich, Denise Huskins, and Sarah Maynard. And the purpose of the panel was to share their stories and give advice to Jamie Kloss, if you remember that case, who had recently survived a kidnapping after her abductor brutally murdered her parents. And during the panel, she spoke about losing Tina and Cody. She said, "Knowing that you can never say mom again, it's the worst feeling in the world." It sounds like Sarah is doing well by all accounts. She's a mother now. She lives a very private life, which rightfully so. Yeah. And as for the area of Knox County, the murders have not been forgotten by the community, and the reminders of the horrific ordeal are no longer around, luckily. Because that tree that Matthew begged to not be cut down, that he hid the bodies in, was in fact cut down, because I think you have to.
Yeah.
Because park officials are obviously worried that people would, really strange, bizarre people would come and want to see this tree that he hid body parts in. So they just cut it down, which I think was the right move. And just in spite of Matthew, too. Yeah. As for the homes at the center of the case, those changed as well. Tina's home, where the murders took place, was bought by Habitat for Humanity and now provides low-income housing for those who may need it. And Matthew's home was purchased by Shelby Miller in 2021, and she converted it into a women's shelter, which, wow, that's
pretty amazing.
You don't see that very often. That's really cool. In 2022, she officially opened the Aberdeen House, and it currently has rooms for 6 women at a time. In 2019, the town honored Cody. He would have graduated from high school that year. And to memorialize that, the school kept a chair open for him. It had a cap and gown, an honorary diploma, and a white rose sitting on it, which rightfully so. I mean, Cody completely had his life robbed from him for absolutely no reason. But this chair is also a reminder of everything that Matthew Hoffman took away from his victims. Every accomplishment, every birthday, every day that Tina, Stephanie, and Cody never got again. All because of one deeply disturbed individual acting on these compulsions, these impulses that he has. And I don't think we really even have full answers for why he did what he did. He doesn't even seem to know why he did what he did.
I don't think you can get full answers.
Yeah, it's absolutely senseless at the end of the day. There's literally no reason. It seems like he was stalking. I mean, he's a stalker is what he is.
Right.
And he was stalking Sarah. And I think he ultimately is trying to figure out how to kidnap Sarah out of their home. But he tried to do it and ran into her mother and the rest of her family. And then, their friend. And he just, I don't know, either he was planning. I mean, it seems like he kind of came prepared to kill. I mean, he had weapons with him.
Right.
He had a knife. Like, it seems like he was prepared to take Sarah at whatever cost.
Absolutely.
And he didn't care who died in the process so that he could live out this sick fantasy of his. Absolutely disgusting, disturbing individual. But I'm curious what Danny thinks. What's kind of your take on Matthew? Like, how much do you think this, dendrophilia plays a role sort of in his life? Like, did he do this because the kind of things we're saying, like this is a dark fantasy for him? Or do you feel like this is somebody who's just a deeply mentally disturbed individual and we will never know?
I think the dendrophilia isn't necessarily related to the actions that he did in the house, but I do think it is a symptom of a larger overall broken mental state.
Yeah.
His obsession and his dendrophilia and his obsession with leaves and trees seemed harmless to everybody else, very harmful to him, obviously, with his living conditions. But I think, the isolation of his entire life and the fact that he's a career criminal at this point by the time the murders happened. I'd really all I have to say is just lock him up and throw away the key. Yeah. Keep him away from every tree.
Do you think if he hadn't been caught, he may have done this again?
100%. Yeah. I don't think he showed any remorse. I think the only reason why he eventually made a deal and had that written statement is because they backed him into a corner.
Right.
And when you back an animal into a corner, they have to react. And so he decided that he remembered everything and then he didn't want to die.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. I think so, in such a horrible, tragic situation, I'm so incredibly happy that Sarah made it out.
Absolutely.
Because I think had he not, left some of that evidence, that receipt, that Walmart bag, if he had covered his tracks a little more, I think this could have really, really ended badly. I think there's a possibility that either Sarah ended up being held captive for who knows how long, longer than days, weeks, months.
Years.
I mean, this could have gone on for a long, long time. And, which would have been horrible. But I also think he may have went and done this again, possibly.
Right.
And what happens if he gets to a point where Sarah's not doing what he wants him to do, and then he goes and does this again? And so I think investigators did a great job with this and quickly put the pieces together. And I mean, he made it pretty easy by leaving a receipt like that and going to like one of the most heavily monitored places on the planet.
But even still, if he didn't wear the same shirt that he wore in his driver's license photo, I mean, they probably still would have been able to find him, but it wouldn't have taken this quickly,
Yeah, they were very quick to get after it. I mean, just looking at photos of him, I'm like, this guy is scary.
He's a freak. I think there's also this compulsion for, us learning about it to try to find that reason. And oftentimes, like, we think like, oh, it's got to be a traumatic childhood. Like, that's what broke his mind. But it reminds me of these two books Satan Tango, and then The Sailor Who Fell from Grace with the Sea, about children who, you know, in these specific scenes, like they haven't really lived totally traumatic, like pretty normal childhoods given their surroundings, but they still give in to these complete acts of violence because really, like we've noticed with him throughout, you know, there's a lack of control. They can't control anything. They're followers, and they themselves, you know, the only thing that can give them this sense of control is harming things weaker than they are. And so I think that that's really what it is with Matthew, is there's not that quick and easy answer. It's just this obsession and compulsion to control when he himself is, you know, unable to control his own life. I mean, I think that's also why, you know, he doesn't have an obsession with plants, right? He has an obsession with dead leaves, something that he doesn't have to take care of. He can just have and control.
Yeah, no, I think he's almost got this obsession with death to some extent. Like, I think it's all a reminder to him. And I think part of the because when you look at the events that unfolded, he had lots of opportunities to run out of that house.
Right.
He could have gotten out. He could have ran right past them out the front door.
Right.
I mean, he could have done so many things to avoid the brutality that he unleashed on that family. I mean, that part is very clear to me, that there was all, you know, he had this escalation of violence, and every time he did it, every time he killed a squirrel, every time he, you know, gathered a bag of leaves, and you know, the abuse that he inflicted on his prior girlfriend, he felt more and more and more powerful. And so to him, I think he really sort of had this perspective of, if I do this, I will gain this ultimate power. Right. And because it wasn't a methodical, he didn't attempt to clean up. He didn't attempt to try to cover. I mean, he left a very bloody scene there, a very brutal scene there.
Absolutely.
And then proceeded to dismember multiple people, including a child. I mean, this is somebody who derived something deeper from what he did.
Right.
And I think he felt in that moment, on top of the world, he felt like the most powerful, invincible human being alive. And I think it all played into this dark, sick fantasy he had of like, okay, I'm going to take Sarah now, and I'm going to live in my dark world that I've created in this house, and you know, I've got the perfect place to store, you know, all this evidence I have, and I think I don't think he was thinking about getting caught at all. I don't think he even like considered the fact of, oh shit, I shouldn't leave this Walmart bag here because cops are going to find that in 2 seconds. And he was just so dialed into this impulse he had.
Right.
I mean, which is very common. And that's why I'm like, I think there's a lot of similarities to other serial killers, because this is kind of the same high that they're chasing.
I mean, the as you said, the escalation, right, of it's not just, you know, he went out and did this one day. You know, there were other things that he had been picking up along the way just to see how close he could get to it without, you know, going over the edge. And then eventually he does here.
And I think he liked creeping people out.
Absolutely.
I think once he realized, I'm not going to be accepted by anyone for who I am, I'm going to get attention the other way.
Right.
And so by putting a hammock in a tree and sitting outside your neighbor's house, just
watching kids.
Watching kids and knowing that you're making people feel uncomfortable or sleeping in the woods, I think he, and like to your point, I think to your point, Ian, earlier you said he's this mythical woodland predator.
Right.
And I think he truly believed he was this all powerful, you know, entity that sort of like was a part of these dark woods. And, you know, he's living in complete fantasy land.
Absolutely.
And then I think reality hits when he's arrested, and, you know, I think he starts realizing like, now I'm fucked. And so he's like trying to do everything he can to spin it of like, oh, I'm insane. I don't know what happened. I blacked out. Oh, I had a dream. But I think he's smarter than what he tries to put across at the end of the day. But yeah, unbelievable. But yeah, let us know what you think about this. Like, where do you kind of land here with some of our thoughts around Matthew and sort of his motive for what he did? But I just want to say, like, Sarah is absolutely incredible. I mean, to go through something as traumatic as that and be able to come out the other side and pick up your life and carry on is just, it's so admirable. And I just find people like her so truly inspiring. And as a reminder of like, my worst day is nowhere near,
couldn't come close to this.
what she went through, and to lose her family like that. And it's completely tragic. So I hope she's doing well out there. I hope she's living her life, and it's a good life at that. But that's where we're going to wrap up today's episode. We appreciate you for joining us. Thanks for Ian for being here.
Anytime.
This was enjoyed doing this with you. And yeah, let us know your thoughts, and we'll be back with another one next week. Till then, lights out, everybody.